Hello there, and welcome to the Passing of the Leadership Baton series. My name is Cody Hatton.
And I'm Kay Leone.
And today we have with us Mr. Milman, CEO of MPRL EMP and proud son of Marshall University. Well, sir, we're glad to have you here, and we'd like to start this interview by asking, what is your Marshall story?
Well, it goes back 45 years ago, and it actually started at my high school. My high school student advisor was somewhere from Virginia. I don't exactly remember where he's from, but I know he's from West Virginia. So during the time when we were all applying to go to college, many of my friends were applying to all the big name schools, Ivy League schools and all that. And then one day we were talking and he said, if you really want to discover America, there's a college that I like to recommend to you, and that's Marshall. So I decided that I wanted to go to that school. So it was me and another 3 students in my high school. So altogether 4 of us that landed at Marshall. So
now let's talk about some of your inspirations. Can you tell us about some people who have had a tremendous impact on your life as a leader?
You know, I think it would be incorrect for me to just name one individual. So what I like to say is that over or throughout various stages of my life, I've several individuals who has been very influential to me, mentors to me. So like my high school student advisor in high school, and when I arrived at Marshall, it was Dr. Alexander. There were a lot of good advice that he gave me. To me, he's a role model, shall I say, what he's done with the school. And the other day I was talking to him, and he's, it's been 55 years of service that he has not only given to the school, but to the community. So, I mean, people like him really motivates me to do something more than I would ordinarily do, And also, if you look at American history, there are people like, I'm a Civil War movie buff, and generals like Stonewall Jackson, and you're talking when he was assuming control of a division, he was only 33 years old, But his dedication, to the Southern Army, and these are gentlemen that really helped shape my life, throughout the various stages of my growing up, shall I say, and dealing with life. So I would say it's not just one individual, but several individuals that influenced me.
So let's talk about your career path. Could you tell us about your career path and a lesson that you learned along the way?
Well, I must say there were a lot of mistakes that I've made along the way also. But the key thing in my life, I would say, is the perseverance and the motivation factor. So when I left Marshall and went back there, I always wanted to major in physics. And so I majored in physics, and the other thing that I wanted to do was to be a pilot. And so I became a pilot. I flew about 13 years. And then I decided that I don't want to fly anymore, And so I got into business, into the oil and gas sector. But, it's not the easiest sector to do business in. So I started as a little service company, providing various services to oil companies. This was back in 1989. And I started as a catering service provider. And my wife used to tell me, look, you don't even know how to cook, and how are you going to run this catering company? Well, I said, I don't know, but I'm certainly going to do it. So I ended up with like 400 cooks and became the largest caterer in the country, And then the company expanded to logistics, manpower, supply, whatever the oil companies needed, we provide. Then in 1996, I asked myself, shall I just confine myself to the world of contracting where the contractor is always wrong and the oil company is always right? So in 96, I decided maybe I should start an oil company. So that's how MPRL EMP was established. So it's been a pretty long way, hard, difficult at times, but we've survived, shall I say.
So I want to ask you about your values. How have your core values influenced your leadership style?
Values. Well, I'll tell you something. When I started business, our country, Myanmar, was under a military regime, and a lot of people call it a dictatorial regime, and the economy was a centralized type economy. And when I say centralized, that's a command economy. So you can't just go and do business just like you do business here in a free market economy. And there were times where the government would actually call you in and say, look, we'd like to give you this contract, and go and do it. And I would say, well, I don't think I want to do that. I have a business that I'm running. It's a legitimate business. I really want to expand in what I'm doing, and I want to go that way. But basically they said, look, I mean, if you take that contract we're giving you, you're going to go big very quickly. And I told myself, I'm not sure whether I want to do it. I'm quite happy with where we are. And so I think I managed to discipline myself, to confine myself to do what I'm doing, what I enjoy doing, what I believe is the right way to do business. I pay tax. I became one of the largest taxpayers in the country. So I'd like to do things in a legitimate way, the way it should be done. And I preach that within my company, to all my staff, to my management team, and we never deviate from that, So you call it values, so that's how we operate it.
What advice would you give young professionals preparing to enter the workforce?
Definitely one is value that we were talking about. I have people working for me now who has worked for me since the beginning of the company. I would say at least 25% of my workforce have been working for us for at least like 20, 25 years together. So I have altogether like 12 companies in the group, and MPRL EMP is a flagship company. But what we drive is that, we try to build the spirit, like a family spirit. I tell my people, let's not call companies. Let's call it MPRL EMP Group of Family, a family company. So we run the business that way, I think a lot of times what I find is that young people, when they do business, instead of doing it on a longer term basis, people tend to do the shortcuts and, get rich quick type thing. And many a times I find that they end up failing. So I would advise that you go into something that you believe that you want to do on a longer term basis and just stay in it, There are times that you may fall, but get up and just keep going at it, and with that drive, you eventually succeed. So that's what I believe in. I want to say this about girls in the workforce, okay? Especially, I'm doing oil and gas, so we are an equal opportunity company. And so one of the things that I do is I also promote sailing in Myanmar. We try to promote the girls as an equal opportunity with the boys. So whether it be in sailing or whether it be in petroleum engineering. So what I do is I bring these boys and girls who are attending the Yangon Technological University majoring in petroleum engineering, and I will make sure that it will be an equal spread between the boys and the girls. And it will be during the summer, like 2 months. They will come and do the internship, and we will send them to the field. And in central Myanmar, it's pretty tough working in the field because temperatures can be very warm in the summer and all that. And what I find is that after 2 months, they have to come back into the head office, and they will do the final presentation of what they did and all that. And from the reports that I get, the girls had absolutely no problem, no complaints, whereas the boys have a lot of issues. So I called the girls in and I said, look, girls, I really want to know, why is that you have no complaints? You did exceptionally well, on an average, better than the boys. So you know what they told me? They said, it's the motivation, and everybody said oil and gas is a man's world, and we want to prove that we as girls can do equal and better than the boys. And that was the motivation factor, and I just simply love it,
So keeping that in mind, that about wraps up our interview. Mo, your display of initiative and drive really shows that anyone can be as successful as they want to be and do whatever they'd like to do. So we'd like to thank you all for being a part of the Marsh University Passing of the Leadership Baton series.